Hey, y'all. Yeah, they stopped. Y'all can hear them blue jays. There's a whole flock of them out there in them woods above the pear orchard. We picked many a pear, many a peas out of that old orchard. My mom used to tell me on this place when I was a kid, you hear them old blue jays hollering like that. They done found them a snake in the woods. So I'm going to let them deal with him. I ain't going up there. I got no use for that. Still waiting on the first one in the chicken house. I know he's coming. Been a little cool. In fact, I feel almost like an idiot. It's a cool 67 degrees in Texas. Out in the sun, it feels a little better, but I was on the porch a while ago, got a little chilled, so I threw one on. Looking at this old red oak here that Randy and I spared in spite of the garden. We've got peas and corn popping up all over the place. Let me flip this around real quick. It's some kind of pretty. That tractor sure helped me make good quick work of it. But we staggered the crops so I wouldn't have to pick them all on the same day. We got about 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet. Well, 2 rows equals about 1,000 foot of peas. Or right at it. And we've got 6 of them. But CLDW has done broke out again down there. They told me about them goats, but I can keep all of them in but DW. We're going to figure it out. Me and him have a guessing game about how he's getting out. I've said it several times, but the old boy told me down at Lone Star one day the way to test my goat fence to see if it was goat worthy, see if it'd keep them in, just take a bucket of water, and if water can get through it, so can that goat. That's been about right. No, I've had I almost forgot how to do these things. I think it's been a couple of weeks since we've chatted, hadn't it? But life is good. I was kind of gathering my thoughts ahead of this evening, and as I was walking up this old plowed up field, seeing footprints all over it from the critters and from recent visitors and those I love and mine, and it got me to thinking how many footprints have been across this old pasture over the last 100 years, 50 or so since my family's had it. But it used to be a pasture, so it wasn't as obvious, the footprints. They are today, and boy, they are cherished. Just kind of in awe of all the things that God is doing. He always has, but I guess sometimes we notice a little more than others, and boy, I sure has here as of late. Reconnected with the absolute love of my life from almost 30 years ago. Back in January, we hadn't even made 90 days, but time isn't an essence anymore. We won't be going another 30 years without each other. And that's a good thing. She came up with her family to visit this weekend, and kind of a whirlwind trip, but I already didn't have any second thoughts at all, but we got out here and planted another row of peas with our little granddaughter and all on the tractor. Had a blast, and still a little wet. So her and I was out there finishing up that one row of peas, and poor thing sank up to her knees almost in mud. Never missed a beat. I knew she wouldn't. She said she'd clean up after we was done planting peas. Y'all watch that goat. He's a mess. He won't charge me, but boy, he'll follow me everywhere. And that's not a good thing at all times. I had something happen about a week ago, and I hadn't shared it other than privately with friends and family. And we all know, or if you got any sense at all, you know there's more than this life, and more than this world, and we can't explain everything. But of course, Mom passed in 2019, and of course that kind of landed me back on this place with different life circumstances back in 2018. It's about the time of the year that I moved back. But when Jordan and I landed, this old house had sat vacant for quite a while, and even in Mama's failing years, she wasn't able to really clean the house like a young person could. And Jordan and I landed and made it tidy enough for 2 fellas, and those ladies already know that ain't very tidy. It was good enough for government work, they say. But it was easy for me to go outside and chop down brush and plow and work with the animals than it was to scrub baseboards and toilets past what they needed to be. Anyway, I had some real special guests coming, and she'd have been fine with it as it was, but I decided that was motivation enough to get after it. There's a point to this story. My mom, when she grew up in this house, she was the youngest of 6, and she was the baby. She was a little bit smaller build than the rest of them, and farming was their vocation. So her duty was to keep that house clean. And I remember growing up, and it came to mind even yesterday, I had my pants cuffed up, walking barefoot out in this field, and I took my pants off last night, obviously, and uncuffed that dirt, and it spilled out on the floor, and I went and got a broom and swept it up. But she used to tell Kimberly and I that her dad would come in from the watermelon field and walk through that house that she had swept and cleaned all day, and he'd just drop that old East Texas sand all down that hallway, ruin all her hard work from that day. But she said she never complained. She just went behind him and swept it up because he had been working. But all that to say this. Saturday week ago, I was in the throes of really deep cleaning. I'm not talking about just sweeping. I'm talking about moving furniture and washing windows inside and out, and taking some Murphy's oil soap to the baseboards and just getting after it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And Jordan and I was in the living room about 5, and the phone rang, cell phone. Mom was calling. Yep, it was a Godwink. I looked at the caller ID and it said Rose Johnson. I'm like, wait a minute. So I showed Jordan. I'm glad I did, or I'd think I was just totally crazy. He looked at it and looked at me, and I answered it. It was Dad calling. And we chatted a minute, hung up the phone, and called my love, and we was talking about it. She said, you need to take a screenshot of that recent call just to save it. And I said, you know what, you're right. So I went back to my recent calls, and lo and behold, there was no Rose Johnson. It simply said Dad Sell. So now I'm really perplexed. Got to digging through my contacts, and I didn't have Rose Johnson, which was my mom's name that she went by when she lived here, not her later in life. She went by Rose here and Joyce in her professional life, but didn't have her in the phone from back in the past under that name. It was simply Mom Sell. So I said, well, I'll just call Dad and have him call me back. Let's see what happens. So he did, and sure enough, as you'd guessed, it said Dad Sell. So I think it was Godwink. Then Mom said, well, it's about time you clean that house, boy. But man, that was one of those special things that won't be replicated, I'm sure, and can't explain it. We just thank the good Lord for his Godwink, right? It reminded me that, turned 50 a month or so ago, and feel young. Don't feel like I'm 50. Used to think 50 was old. Now it's looking pretty young. But I've told this story before. It's one of my favorites, and it come up over the weekend in my mind, and thinking about what's ahead, the good stuff, and living life where you're at. This old lady, her name was Martha. She'd been a faithful member of a little Baptist church in East Texas all her life. Doctor gave her the bad news. She had cancer and didn't have long to live. So she called her pastor for a luncheon and wanted to talk to him. Pastor came by and they talked for, it was a good 2 hours. He cried and she lifted him up and said she was ready. But she had some special instructions for her funeral. He took out his notepad and started making notes of the songs she wanted to sing, or wanted them to sing, the order of the service, and some of her favorite scriptures and stories. He took careful notes, and as he was wrapping up their visit, she said, oh, and Pastor, if you'd do one thing for me. When they laid my body to rest in that casket, she went to her kitchen and went to her silverware drawer and opened it up, and he stood there perplexed. She took out a fork, and she handed it to him, and she said, Pastor, if you would, put this in my hands, just as I lay there, if you would. He said, Martha, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but what's the purpose? I've never heard of this before. She said, well, growing up, I remember dinner on the grounds. And every Sunday when we would have that, they'd come around and pick up the dirty plates of leftover bones from a chicken, or the leftovers from chicken and dumplings, or hamburgers, whatever it was from the main course. But they would always tell us to keep our fork, because dessert was coming. The best was yet to come. So I want to use that as a witness when I pass, so that at the end of the sermon, you can make reference to why I'm holding that fork, knowing that what's ahead, what's on the other side, I'm going to need a fork, because the best is truly yet to come. God's made me realize that even more so in the last few months, with the reuniting of someone that I've always loved dearly. Both of us had to move on and walk life on our own terms. Don't regret a minute of it either. Got some beautiful children on both sides, but she's my heart song, and I feel really blessed. I do. But turkeys are good, and we're getting an egg a day out of that poor old hen. She's doing her best. We should have some baby turkeys. Got a whole brooder full of little baby chickens in there to help get this flock back up to where they need to be. I'm about to lose some chickens, I'm going to tell you that right now. You'd think the goats would be my biggest problem in this garden, but nope, it's the chickens. See if y'all can see these sticks. I knew it last year, and they did it again. I don't know how they can sniff it out, but they do. Let's see here. Well, you can't see in this camera, but a couple of sticks up there. That's where the peas start growing. So the first 50 foot or so of each of these rows, and chickens have found the seeds buried an inch down. I've got my eye on about 6 of them that are just messy. I mean, that's just, look at this idiot. He don't want the green grass around him. He wants to get up to where he can't reach. I guess we're all a little bit like that. We need to be satisfied with what's around us and not worried about what's a little out of reach. He's working on it, ain't he? You gonna get it, buddy? Huh? Nope. Well, you got green grass all around your feet. Look at you. Ain't that something? Yeah. I guess we could learn a lesson or two over that one, couldn't we? I'm gonna leave that alone for this evening. Anyway, I've got about 5 chickens that are gonna find themselves in chicken prison, where I used to keep the little babies, and where they'll be headed in about 5 weeks. But I need about 2 weeks of grow time to get them seeds up on the part they've already ate. So that's coming. Of course, you can only catch them really at night, but I got my eye on them. I know where they sleep. I'm gonna sneak up on them. Life is good. Everything's good here in East Texas. I guess we've got our Easter snap or whatever this evening. Supposed to be 39 in the morning. Lord have mercy, here it is, late April. It won't hurt any of the plants, but we need the soil to go ahead and warm up and get this stuff working. Corn's up and watermelons are up, but got snake bit on my tomatoes. I had a ton of them, and had a rat get every one of them little old seedlings, all 200 and something of them. It ain't the seed that's the problem, it's the time. So I'm gonna be in bad shape on tomatoes this year, but we'll make do. We will make do. It is what it is, right? Well, let me do a quick roll call, and we're gonna shut it down for the evening. It's been a couple of weeks, thought I'd jump on here and say howdy and check in with everybody. It is sure pretty here in Texas tonight. Beautiful weather. We've had a string of it. I think it's finally going to dry out just a little bit. Some of them peas in the top of the pasture sitting in water, they're kind of yellow, but a day or two of sunshine will fix that pretty quick. So we'll just hope for that. All right, let me see who all's on here, and we'll call it an evening. I got to look. This thing is actually Facebook changed some things, and I don't know if I can see comments or not. I know y'all are commenting, but it's not showing me. Well, that's a mess. I don't know what's going on. Here we go. If I can see, that's what happens when I get off here too long. Don't remember how to, I know how to do it, but it sure ain't popping up very good. Shows everybody's watching, but I can't see the comments, y'all. There's a couple. There's my buddy Manuel. Them chickens are the devil. That's right. Anything messes with peas are of the devil. Aggie's saying howdy. How are you, ma'am? My Aunt Sharon out in Florida is watching. There's Charlotte Taylor, West Tennessee. Say hi to my friend Rita, please. Well, hello, Miss Rita. How are you? I don't see a comment from you, but glad to have you along. There's Lyle in Canton. Appreciate you too, sir. Let's see. There's Miss Rhonda. Hello from Texas. She's down a little south of us. She's got some good things going on in her life. Good to hear that. I think I can see the comments now, hopefully. There's Patty. Good evening from Miss Patty in Forney, Texas. Pamela's asking, where's Sissy? She is in the front. She didn't walk with me tonight. I don't know what's going on. She's got to like it underneath that house, and I got to fix that because she's got a garden to watch. But no, she's out here 90% of the time. I don't know why she didn't come follow me around tonight. Let somebody pull up in that driveway. We'll see her, though, real quick. There's Pam. Got a bunch of little Campari tomatoes. Oh, I'd love some if you've got any extra, Pam. That'd be great. I've got extra trade.